"Congratulations on your marriage." With the sound of crackers, white doves, and colorful balloons danced in the sky. My wife and I were at the pinnacle of happiness, being blessed in our marriage by friends and relatives. My name is Daniel. Today is my wedding day with my girlfriend of 5 years, Jennifer. Jennifer, who has supported me through my assignments in the Special Forces, and I are finally getting married. Due to the secretive nature of my job, there were times I couldn't be reached suddenly or couldn't explain my work. Because of this, women I dated in the past suspected me of cheating or were unsure if we were even in a relationship, leading to breakups. But Jennifer, she never did any of that. She always believed in me and waited. Whenever I finished a job and got in touch, she would act as if nothing was amiss, welcoming me with a big smile, soothing me. I wanted to marry her. At some point, that's what I started thinking. However, my job is fraught with danger. One wrong move and I could leave her a widow. With retirement set at 35, I told Jennifer to wait for me until then, and she readily agreed. And now, I've finally fulfilled that promise. Jennifer, 2 years younger at 33, looks younger than her age and is beautiful, with a bright and cheerful personality. She always heals my mental fatigue from harsh training and missions with her smile and her excellent cooking. She's a flawless woman, and I still don't know why she chose me. She's far too good for someone like me. At our wedding, both of our parents and friends attended, making it a modest but beautiful ceremony. After the wedding, we headed to the airport for our honeymoon. The airport was bustling with lots of foreign tourists and Americans. We wove through the crowd, hand in hand, heading to our flight's terminal. After completing the check-in process early, we dropped off our luggage, passed through the security checkpoint, and made our way to the boarding gate. This was my first private trip abroad, and Jennifer, on her first ever international trip, was excitedly chatting with me. "I can speak Thai. Is that going to be okay? How many souvenirs should I buy? I've heard that the locals at the tourist spots can communicate in English, as there are many American tourists. Since we're going abroad, let's fully enjoy the local experience and worry about souvenirs on the last day." "Right. I've made a list of places I want to visit. Let's look at it together on the plane and plan our schedule." Saying that, she showed me the travel guidebook for our destination. The guidebook was marked with sticky notes, showing how much Jennifer was looking forward to the trip. "Once we land, let's rent a car and head to the hotel. Depending on how we feel after check-in, we'll either go out or rest." "Yes, we're there for a week, so let's take it easy." We continued talking while waiting in the lounge for our flight's departure time. Soon, boarding began, and we made our way to our seats. Our first time in business class was a comfortable experience, and we excitedly acted like children. When a flight attendant noticed and chuckled, we felt a bit embarrassed, but then she approached us. "We heard it's your honeymoon. While it's a modest gesture, we have a cake for you. Please let us know when you'd like to have it." Well, I didn't know they had services like this. Me neither. Let's enjoy it once the plane has taken off and we've settled in. As we were talking, it was time for takeoff. The plane took off on schedule, ascending swiftly into the sky. The comfort was incomparable to the military aircraft I was used to, and I was genuinely impressed. Jennifer, enduring the force of takeoff, gritted her teeth, and once we were in the sky, she let out a deep sigh of relief. Phew, that was surprising. It's the first time I've ever felt such gravity, Jennifer said, her eyes wide with amazement. Her occasional amusing comments always made me laugh, and that was one of the many reasons I found her endearing. After a while, she got excited about having the cake, so I called a flight attendant to bring it. Soon, a small whole cake was brought to us. Other passengers looked on with interest at the cake held by the flight attendant. When the attendant stopped in front of us, she placed the cake on the table, saying, "Congratulations on your marriage." Then, applause erupted from the surrounding passengers, and we bashfully thanked those who clapped for us. Jennifer handed her cell phone to the cabin attendant, asking to take a commemorative photo. After the photo was taken, the two of us shared and enjoyed a cake together. After finishing the cake, Jennifer seemed content and began to doze off, so I reclined her seat and covered her with a blanket to rest. I wasn't sleepy, so I watched a movie for a while, but before I knew it, the film had reached its ending. Perhaps due to the exhaustion from the wedding, I had fallen asleep. During my time in the Special Forces, sleeping on a plane was unthinkable, always in a state of high alert, so I felt a sense of guilt relaxing and sleeping to the sway of the aircraft. As I watched the movie's ending, I drifted off to sleep again, and when I woke up, we were nearing our destination. Jennifer was already awake, enjoying the view outside. After finishing our in-flight meal, the plane began its descent and landed safely at our destination. Jennifer, eager to get outside, fidgeted while waiting for the cabin attendant's instructions. Stepping off the plane and onto the boarding bridge, the unique warmth of a tropical island greeted us. Outside, lush tropical vegetation was visible, which seemed to raise Jennifer's spirits even more. Once we collected our baggage, we rented a car and headed to the hotel. "You're really fluent in Thai. That was so cool," Jennifer said excitedly. "Yeah, it's the first time that the language skills I was required to learn for work actually came in handy personally." As I said this, we drove along the coastline, enjoying the view of the clear blue sky and the beautiful sea. However, just before reaching the hotel, we found ourselves in trouble. The minivan in front of us suddenly stopped. In a panic, I slammed on the brakes to avoid a collision, and then 5 men burst out of the car in front of us. They were wearing masks, and one of them was a particularly large man. They surrounded our car clumsily and shouted, "Both of you, get out of the car," in an intimidating manner. Jennifer, clutching her head and crouching under the dashboard with a pale face, turned to me. "What are they saying?" As I opened the door to step out, I calmly responded, "They're telling us to get out of the car. I'll go first." Lock the door behind me. I got out with my hands raised, showing I wasn't resisting, and one of them came close to check if I was carrying anything, then put me in a headlock. Jennifer, peeking outside, settled into the passenger seat when a burly man, who seemed to be the leader, spotted her and spoke up. "Hand over that beauty." Another man tried to open the passenger door, but it was locked. He banged on the window, yelling at Jennifer to open the door. Frightened, Jennifer screamed and crouched down in the car. "Jennifer, just stay calm. Open the door and step outside. It's okay, I'm right here with you." Gently speaking to calm Jennifer down, she nodded and followed my instructions. Jennifer, trembling, opened the door, and the man grabbed her arm, pulling her out. "Don't touch her." Upon hearing my shout, the leader said, "Put the woman in the car." He then issued the command. As I calmly waited for the right moment to strike back, 2 men got into the car with Jennifer to take her away. The others were watching this, creating a brief moment of opportunity. I was being held, but I forcefully broke free, knocked down one man, and ran towards the leader. The large leader braced himself as I approached, but by then, I was already in close range. I grabbed his arm, used the martial arts I learned in the Special Forces to throw him down, and twisted his wrist to prevent him from struggling. The leader groaned as he lay on the road, so I turned towards the minivan to rescue Jennifer. As I approached the men, they stepped out of the car without resistance and handed Jennifer over. She stood behind me, hiding from the men. "Could you take the keys out of the minivan?" When I asked Jennifer, she nodded, retrieved the keys, and handed them to me. I pocketed them and then called the police. The police said they would arrive in 10 minutes, and as we waited, the leader spoke to me. "Are you American? You're incredibly strong. Were you in the military?" I was in a special unit of the police force. You guys just had bad luck, I replied. Indeed, of all people, we had to attack someone from the special forces. That's fate. Curious about our conversation, Jennifer asked, "Hey, can you translate? What are you talking about?" I just told them that they had bad luck attacking a police officer like me. Definitely bad luck, and you're really strong, defeating such a big guy so quickly. Jennifer seemed to have gotten used to the situation and spoke calmly. The men, except for the leader, looked restless as if they wanted to flee, but they resigned themselves to sitting as the leader made no move to stand up. "Can you let these guys go? They were just following my orders," he pleaded. "I doubt they'll stop if they get away." "That won't happen. They were scared and cooperated unwillingly. They all have wives and kids. If they are caught by the police, they'll be divorced and won't be able to see their children." The leader says that, but what do you think? When I asked the other men, they exchanged glances and said, "If the leader doesn't run, neither will we," and sat down on the road. "What are you talking about? Just run away." The leader glared at his unyielding men. Seeing this, I handed the car keys to the leader and decided to let them escape. "Hurry up, or the police will arrive." With that, the 5 men got into the car and drove off. Why let them go after catching them? I just have a feeling they won't do anything bad again. As we spoke, police sirens approached. The police arrived, and Jennifer and I were questioned, but we gave false information about the culprits and their car. Once released, we decided to head back to the hotel. Jennifer, seemingly exhausted from the tension, fell asleep on the way. Upon arriving and checking into our room, Jennifer was amazed by its size and the beautiful view. "What a spacious room. Look, the sea is so beautiful. Hotels abroad are usually like this, but I've never stayed in one with such a beautiful view before." As I said this, I walked towards the balcony and discovered there was even a private pool. "Jennifer, come here. There's a pool." As I pointed to the pool on the balcony, Jennifer quickly came over. Seeing the pool, she exclaimed, "Oh, isn't that nice? Maybe a swim will help me wake up." She pulled a swimsuit out of her suitcase and began changing right there. Finding it hard to know where to look, I gazed at the scenery outside while suggesting, "Let's go out for dinner later." After changing into her swimsuit, Jennifer responded, "Okay." She passed by me and dove into the pool. With some time before dinner, I decided to relax and lay down on the bed, eventually falling asleep. When I woke up, Jennifer, now changed back into her regular clothes, was asleep beside me, breathing softly. I tried to get up without waking her, but I accidentally stirred her awake. "Is it time for dinner? Jer, let's get ready." As I said that, lying down, Jennifer asked, "Daniel, were you in the SWAT team?" I can go into details, but I was in a special forces unit. I fought against bad guys and rescued hostages when they were taken. "I see. I'm glad you were there to save me, but why did you want to join the special forces? I never really told you about my childhood, did I? Let's talk while we walk to the restaurant." Saying that, I gently took Jennifer's hand as she lay there, helped her up, and we left the room. Originally, I wanted to become a police officer. I decided to share my past with Jennifer. I was born frail, so my parents, concerned about my health, had me try various activities. Swimming, baseball, basketball, wrestling. But the activity I stuck with was karate. It all started when my father suggested we go see the police cars at the local station, where a retired SWAT officer was teaching karate. Visiting the station, I was awed by the uniforms and bulletproof vests of the officers, which sparked my aspiration to become a police officer. I attended karate more to see the police cars and uniformed officers than to practice karate itself. Lacking physical strength, I couldn't compete with my teammates the same age and usually practiced with younger girls, which led to being teased from the boys my age. When I was thrown around by younger girls, resulting in laughter from my teammates. I was filled with frustration and often found myself in tears. Despite this, I never considered quitting karate. Seeing me in that state, my instructor, William, always encouraged me because of that. William, not only strong in karate but also kind-hearted, quickly became my role model. I began to desire to become more like him, to get closer to his level. I started practicing karate in the living room, facing my father. Although my father had no experience in karate, he willingly took on the role of being thrown by me. When a loud noise came from the living room, my mom would scream and come running. "What's that noise? What happened to Dad? Daniel is strong at karate. He threw me." Seeing my father thrown, my mother would laugh and praise me. "Dan, you become so strong. When you grow up, I hope you become a kind police officer who helps people in trouble." I remember my parents always praised me. My father, inexperienced in karate and unfamiliar with how to fall safely, naturally ended up getting injured. However, he never let me see that side of him. It seemed that after I fell asleep, my mother would apply patches all over his body, and I would realize it the next day from the smell of the patches. Perhaps thinking he couldn't keep up, my father also started attending the karate classes at the police station to learn how to fall properly. That's where my father and William became good friends, and our families started to interact more. When William visited our house with his family, he would talk about his SWAT team experiences. He showed us albums and explained the various missions he had accomplished. Some of them were even broadcasted on live news programs, which surprised my parents. Seeing William in his SWAT team gear in the photos made him look even cooler than when he was in his police uniform, and I began to take an interest in joining the SWAT team. How can I join the SWAT team? Well, first you become a police officer, and then you volunteer for the SWAT team. They require you to have exceptional skills in martial arts, shooting, and arrest techniques, among others. And above all, physical strength is crucial. The training for the SWAT team is extremely rigorous. Without the necessary physical fitness, you just can't keep up with the training and become part of the team. Can I make it into SWAT? Of course, you can. You're kind and have a strong sense of justice. You have what it takes to be a police officer. Eat well, practice hard, get plenty of sleep, and stay healthy. Don't forget to study, or you won't make it into the police academy. William patted my head as he said this. I, a picky eater and slight in build, started going to bed early and waking up early from the next day, eating all 3 meals without fail. As I stopped being picky with food and began to eat everything that was served, I could feel myself getting stronger. It was evident that my physical strength was improving. My body didn't seem to build muscle easily, and I didn't look like someone who practiced karate. However, by the time I entered middle school, I had become the strongest among my peers. As my body grew stronger, so did my mental resilience. The days when I was a crybaby felt like a distant past. My middle school had a karate club, but I continued practicing at the police station gym. However, William advised me to join the school's karate club. You're strong among middle schoolers. Compete in the regional competitions to get your name out there. You'll learn about seniority there, too. Aim for a high school with a strong karate team. Then go to college. There's no rush to become a police officer. Stop by here sometimes and show us your progress. I continued to learn from William, but as he suggested, I joined a karate club in junior high. The athletic club had strict seniority rules, but being disciplined in manners and etiquette turned out to be invaluable later on. I realized that William wanted me to learn this. Karate practice in junior high was as strict as at the police gym, but practicing with peers of the same age was motivating. After school, we would excitedly discuss wins and losses, reflect on them on our way home, and refine our techniques in practice the next day. When I got home, I would have multiple servings of dinner and even share my father's dishes, eating a lot. Perhaps because of the increasing food expenses, my mother, who was a homemaker, started working part-time, and began preparing nutritious meals with good ingredients. My father continued practicing karate at the police station and taught me what he learned from William. Although I no longer throw him in the living room, he carefully teaches me how to grapple. Then, he achieved his black belt before I did. He proudly showed me his black belt, setting a goal for me to achieve a black belt as well. By the time I was in the 8th grade, I had occasionally beaten seniors who had black belt, and it was said that I would have no trouble attaining a black belt myself. However, to be eligible for the promotion exam, one had to be at least 14 years old. Being born in August, I ended up being the last among my classmates to take the test. After passing the exam with my juniors, I reported the good news to my father. Let's go buy a black belt the next day off. On the promised day, I went to a sports store with my father, only to find William there. He approached me with a smile, holding a black belt in his right hand. "Congratulations on achieving your black belt. This is a gift from me," he said, handing me the belt. Receiving it, I saw my name embroidered on a black belt. The black belt, a gift from the person I admired, was used until I graduated from high school and still rests in my room at my parents' house. In my 3rd year of junior high, I served as the karate club captain, leading the members. Despite not being physically imposing, I used speed and technique to throw bigger opponents, participating in national competitions in both team and individual events, and received recommendation offers from prestigious high schools. I chose to attend the strongest high school. Although my parents were worried because the school was far away and required full boarding, they respected my decision. Being an only child, my mother seemed to cry often from loneliness at night. When I returned home a few times a year, she would lavish me with food and bombard me with questions about school and club activities. During my rebellious phase, I found this annoying and would go to my room without responding, only to be scolded by my father. Surprised by his rare anger, I apologized to my mother and made amends. From then on, I made an effort to sincerely respond to her conversations. I continued to perform well in high school, but as graduation approached without any championships, I was set to move on to college through an escalator system, as he had chosen a high school that allowed for automatic advancement. In university, I practiced with a potential Olympic candidate, but the difference in our levels was evident, marking my first experience of defeat. However, my parents, who had been worried about my frail health since birth, were delighted to see how strong I had become and encouraged me. After graduating, I became a police officer and fulfilled my long-held dream of joining the riot police. The training and discipline in the riot police were even more rigorous, and it was a struggle to keep up at first despite my extensive university training. While many colleagues left, I endured and finally started my duties as a riot police officer. Recognized for my performance, I was invited to join a Special Forces unit and underwent the demanding Special Forces selection and training. After about 2 weeks of rigorous training, I was selected for further training as a new team member. The training lasted about a month, leading up to the final selection for official induction. During the toughest training I had ever experienced, I called William when I felt like giving up. "I'm struggling with the new team member training." William laughed and said, "That's expected. It reflects the responsibility of handling serious criminal incidents. I went through it too but couldn't make it through the selection. You have already surpassed me. Come and see me once you're in the Special Forces." Having thought I was nowhere near as good as William, it was encouraging to feel I had gotten a bit closer. This motivated me to showcase my inherent perseverance, and eventually, I managed to enlist. After successfully joining the Special Forces, I used my leave to go back home and visit William, who was at the police station. William at the police station seemed to have aged quite a bit, and he looked smaller to me. "Let's practice for old time's sake," he suggested, and we went to the gym for a match. but William didn't have the same strength as before. No, maybe I had just become stronger. William recognized my strength and seemed pleased. Indeed, there's a reason you made it into the Special Forces. You've really dedicated yourself. I never thought you'd actually achieve your dream. It's a dangerous job, but you've fulfilled your dream. Do your best for the country. I exchanged a firm handshake with William and then returned to my parents' house. At home, I was barraged with questions by my mother as usual, but I didn't want to worry her, so I didn't share the details of my job. Since joining the Special Forces, I had been tasked with protecting dignitaries from foreign countries and working on crime prevention missions, which led me to become fluent in Thai. I've even been assigned to guard foreign prime ministers. It was a job that demanded physical and mental strength, as well as concentration. By the time I was past 30, I started feeling the decline of my physical abilities and thought about retiring. That's when I met Jennifer. I explained all this to Jennifer. What a wonderful story. I always loved your parents, Daniel, but hearing this makes me love them even more. They're so full of love. Yes, they never once denied me. They acknowledged, praised, and supported me. I want to be that kind of parent too. Parents should be their children's biggest supporters. Right. For now, let's become a couple like your parents. While we were talking, we arrived at the restaurant. As we parked at the restaurant, I noticed the same minivan that tried to abduct Jennifer earlier in the day. I stopped Jennifer as she was about to enter the restaurant. Jennifer, that's the car from earlier today. What should we do? Go inside the restaurant. If you think it's safe, let's go in. Upon being asked, I decided to go in first to check out the inside of the restaurant. Seeing many families and a bustling atmosphere, I thought it was safe and invited Jennifer in. A waitress told us it was full and asked us to wait to be seated. After a while, we were guided to our table. Looking around, I noticed the leader of the group dining with his family. He was there with his 2 children, wife, and grandparents. I tried to stay unnoticed, but when the waitress came to take our order, the leader, Jason, noticed me. Our eyes met, and I signaled to him not to worry, but Jason told his family something and then approached me. I'm sorry about earlier today. I almost lost my family. The leader, Jason, apologized to Jennifer and me. It's okay. You don't need to tell your family about this morning. Just say you asked for directions to the hotel. Then Jason spoke to the waitress, and soon the 2 men who had attacked us earlier appeared. Thanks to you letting us go, these guys decided to work honestly at this restaurant. There are not many other jobs besides tourism. So many people are poor here. They can't support their families even by working here at the restaurant, but they're still happy. If you had turned us over to the police, we would have been driven out of town and probably turned to more crime. We're truly grateful for what you did. I'm glad I could help. How are the other 2? They're looking for jobs, but it's tough. Hearing that, I felt a desire to help. Is that so? I'm staying here for a week, so how about you show me around the tourist spots? I'll pay for it. Jason was pleased with my offer. Do you mean it? Absolutely. It's far better than them getting into trouble out of boredom. Take us to those hidden gems that only locals know about. Not listed in any guidebook. I'll post about it on social media and introduce you as our guides. As I said that, Jason called to invite the 2 of them to the restaurant. In the meantime, I got Jennifer's consent. By the time we finished our meal, the 2 men had arrived, apologized for what happened earlier, and started talking about the tourist spots. One of them was quite eloquent and seemed like he could immediately start working as a guide. It turned out he had previously worked at a travel agency. While showing us the map on his cell phone, he listened to where we wanted to go and thoughtfully planned the route. Jennifer also actively participated in a conversation, conveying her requests through me, and before we knew it, it was almost closing time. We made arrangements for them to pick us up at our hotel at 10 a.m., and then we left the restaurant. This turned out to be quite an adventure, didn't it? But are you sure we can trust them? I might get abducted again. If that happens, I'll just have to come to the rescue again. They're amateurs, so it won't be anything serious. Maybe I should stash something in my pocket for self-defense, just in case. Jennifer didn't seem to take it as a joke, so when we got back to the hotel, she started laying out knives and forks on the table. When I told her I was just joking, Jennifer started tidying up, looking a bit embarrassed. As we lay in bed discussing the next day's plans, I suggested, why not post on social media now, starting tomorrow? We'll be exploring hidden tourist spots with local guides. If you're interested in contacting the guides, please let us know. It seems like a good idea. Since it was a great idea from Jennifer, I promptly posted the content she suggested on social media. Jennifer did the same, and as we watched the responses, we immediately received comments. The post received many questions like, the tour's sightseeing trips are just to branded stores and aren't interesting. But there's no other option because I can't drive. Is there a driver included? As I asked our guide about questions I couldn't answer and replied to the comments, a tourist said he wanted to make reservations. When I told the guides, they were thrilled. You've not only helped us but also provided us with work. How can we ever thank you? They replied accordingly, and on their social media, under the title Savior from America, they posted a photo of us together at the restaurant. When I forwarded the guide's social media to American tourists, they seemed to appreciate the photo, commenting, "That's a great photo. Let us know how our tour goes tomorrow." The next day, as we went down for breakfast, the guide and driver were already waiting for us. We still have an hour before departure. I told them that, but they happily replied, Jason wanted to make sure we wouldn't be late. We're also glad to be your guides. When I asked if they had breakfast, they said they hadn't, so we decided to eat together. Thank you for everything. While saying this, the two were heartily enjoying their breakfast. I couldn't help but worry if they struggled to have regular meals. Concerned, I watched them eat. Eventually, it was time to depart. The four of us set off in an old car that was far from comfortable. However, the driver's skill was impressive, and the places our guide took us to were a continuous display of breathtaking scenery. I took numerous photos and was about to post them on social media, but then I decided not to. I wanted people to see these beautiful landscapes for themselves, so I posted a message explaining why I chose not to share the pictures. The scenery in the areas our guide showed us was absolutely beautiful, and I took many great photos. However, posting them here might interfere with the guide's business. I encourage you to visit these places and see them with your own eyes. My post received a lot of support from people who agreed with my sentiment. I advised the guide and driver to improve the comfort and cleanliness of the car, since they said there were no rental car services available. I decided to lend them my rental car. The next day, they started guiding other American tourists, and it seemed like they wanted to make this their job. The American tourists who requested their services didn't post photos on social media, instead encouraged others to take tours with these guides. Soon, they had more reservations than they could handle. By the third day, Jason and his two colleagues from the restaurant joined in and started guiding tourists daily. Eventually, they were able to rent cars from a service and quickly became popular tour guides. I follow their achievements on social media, eagerly awaiting my return home. Upon checking out of the hotel, the five of them came to see us off. Jennifer and I shook hands with each of them and then headed to the airport. Within a year, they had established a tour guide company entertaining American tourists. Jennifer, finding an article about them in an American travel guide book, happily said, "We should visit them again. Yeah, once our baby is born and can travel by plane, we'll go see them." Saying that, I gently stroked Jennifer's belly. Looking back, my life has been quite a challenging journey. I've faced a lot of ridicule from people, which has been frustrating at times. But maybe those experiences fueled my determination to strive harder. My name is Ethan, and I'm a 32-year-old man. Currently, I live alone, having moved out of my parents' house. My family runs a farm, and my classmates often mock me for that. One classmate in particular, Ashley, a wealthy and beautiful girl, was especially mean to me. Ashley, a middle school classmate, would flaunt expensive brand name items that no typical middle schooler could afford. Our school had a rule against bringing expensive items, but she ignored it and would bring things like a Louis Vuitton wallet, wear a Burberry scarf, or carry a Dior pouch. She loved showing them off to everyone in the class. I found her quite annoying, but I never confronted her about it. However, one day when I wore a hand-knitted scarf to school, Ashley made a point of ridiculing it. "Ew, what's with that tacky scarf? Is it hand-knitted?" "Yes, it is. What's wrong with that? Is it really that bad?" "Yeah, it's super tacky. Did your mom knit it or something?" "Yes, my mom made it for me." "Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So poor that you can't even buy stuff. She must have unraveled an old sweater to make it, right? Typical of poor people." "Well, actually, wearing such trash and not feeling ashamed, well, it suits a poor person like you." After saying these hurtful things, Ashley burst into laughter. I was very displeased but decided to ignore her and move on. This scarf was indeed made by my mom, who bought new yarn to knit it, not unraveling an old sweater. But I knew any explanation would sound like an excuse to her, someone with a brand supremacy mindset. Ashley seemed only interested in brand names, disregarding everything else. Once, she nonchalantly threw away a barely used eraser, saying, "I don't need this anymore." She clearly didn't value things. Coming from a less affluent family, I couldn't easily ask my parents for new stationery. So, when Ashley discarded her eraser, I considered picking it up, but my classmates noticed and ridiculed me for it. The next day, they started calling me a thief and a beggar. "Ew, it's so creepy that you're picking up stuff I threw away. It's unbelievable that you can't afford something as cheap as an eraser. This is why I hate poor people. But it's still usable, and it seems wasteful not to pick it up. But I threw it away, so it's mine, right? Don't steal things, you thief." This is the epitome of being a thief. I thought once thrown away, it wasn't her property anymore, but since I took it from the trash, I couldn't argue back. Being called a pervert and creepy was harsh, but I realized it might be intimidating for a girl to see a boy rummaging through her discarded items. After that, I refrained from looking for usable items Ashley might have thrown away. I didn't want to do this, but we had limited means and few alternatives. My parents worked hard, but no matter how much they worked, we never became wealthy. We're a fruit farming family, and our income is subject to the whims of the weather. If a storm hits before the harvest, it can ruin all the crops. My family, consisting solely of my parents running a farm, worked tirelessly but barely made enough to get by day to day. So, our meals were always simple. For breakfast, we just had bread, and my lunchbox typically contained bread with strawberry jam, with an occasional sausages when I was lucky. Dinner was also modest. Having macaroni cheese with bacon was considered a luxury. Ashley, being wealthy, would always talk about eating high-quality beef, or snacking on sweets from prestigious shops and fruits in elegant wooden boxes her mother ordered. She even said she couldn't possibly eat the fruits produced by our humble farm. It was one thing for her to mock me, but insulting the fruits my parents worked so hard to grow really made my blood boil. With these feelings, I graduated from middle school. After middle school, I decided to work in agriculture with my parents. We had limited funds and couldn't afford to send me to high school. I thought it would be better to take over the family farm rather than burden my parents with the expense of further education. Right when I was in my third year of middle school, my father got injured and had difficulty walking. So, I had to take the lead in farming. My father taught me all about farming, leaning on his cane. Every day, I worked hard, getting covered in mud, dedicated to the farm. No matter how cold or hot it was, I never missed a day of farm work. Even when I had a fever, I would endure and work, not wanting to put all the burden on my mom. Thinking about everyone else enjoying their high school life made me want to cry at times. But I made a vow to work for the sake of our farm, setting aside my sadness and immersing myself in the work. Time flew, and before I knew it, I was in my 30s. One day, I came home from work and found an invitation to a class reunion in the mailbox. I wasn't keen on going, but then I remembered a girl from my class who I was interested in. Her name was Lisa. Hoping she was still single and thinking about talking to her, I decided to attend. I wasn't eager to see Ashley, but for the chance to meet Lisa, I got ready. Then, I headed to the 5-star hotel where the reunion was being held. Our hometown is in a rural area, but it does have a 5-star hotel. When I arrived at the grand banquet hall, a woman who stood out caught my eye. That's Ashley. I recognized her instantly. Her voice and the way she spoke hadn't changed much. She was flaunting a Louis Vuitton bag on her lap. You know, I'm really having a hard time. Working for a major company is just so exhausting. I'm so busy, I feel like I could collapse any moment. But I'm trusted by my boss and I'm delivering results. Haha. So, Ashley works for a major corporation. Her family is wealthy, so she probably doesn't need to work. But it was clear she was working as a temporary measure until marriage. But you know, if I find the right man, I'll have to quit my job. My father says I should become a housewife after getting married. My mother is a housewife too, so that's probably the best path for a woman after marriage. Oh, where could my Prince Charming be? I thought it was unusual to work with the intention of quitting, but it was her career, so it didn't concern me. She wasn't causing me any trouble. Instead, I started looking around for Lisa. Lisa was the only girl who defended me when I was being harassed in middle school. I wanted to thank her and see her again. All the women had applied makeup and changed their appearances, so it was difficult to recognize them. But they were wearing name tags, so I searched for her by that. There she is. Lisa was wearing a light green cocktail dress with a pearl necklace and holding a white bag. Her hair was styled in a soft perm. Back in middle school, she had the typical look of a class representative with braided pigtails and glasses, but she had changed so much, it took me by surprise. Yet, her kind aura hadn't changed. I approached Lisa to thank her for helping me back then. Hey, I'm Ethan. Do you remember me? Oh, Ethan, it's been so long. I'm glad you remember. Hey, thanks for helping me out in middle school. It really meant a lot to me. You don't need to thank me for that. After all, helping someone in trouble is just the right thing to do, isn't it? Lisa said it was the obvious thing to do, but I wondered how many people in this world would actually act on that obviousness. Because she stood up for a poor guy like me, Lisa ended up being disliked by the other girls. By the end of middle school, she was often left sitting alone. I felt truly sorry that she had to go through tough times just because she helped me. But I was glad I got the chance to thank her at this reunion. If I hadn't come, I might never have had the opportunity to express my gratitude. After all, I didn't know Lisa's contact information and had no idea what she had been up to since then. While I was having a pleasant chat with Lisa, Ashley approached us, her high heels clicking on the floor. She stood in front of me, smiling slyly. Oh, Ethan, what are you doing here? I came for the reunion. A reunion? There's no place for a poor person like you here. I don't need to hear that from you, Ashley. Who do you think you're talking to? I come from a wealthy family. graduated from a prestigious university, and work at a major corporation. You're just a farmer. There's no seat for you here. That's not for you to decide, Ashley. A bottom-rung person like you can't even pay the participation fee, right? Why don't you just go home? Oh, is that so? Then I leave. Ahahaha. Poor people are so pathetic. Can't even afford a measly $50. Ashley laughed her usual haughty laugh. I then made a phone call. Lisa looked a bit troubled beside me. Okay, I'm heading there now. Is your dad coming to pick you up in his little truck? No, it's not that. Another classmate who had been in the restroom came back into the banquet hall, shouting, Wow, there's an amazing car outside. A Porsche Cayman. Really? Maybe my father has come to pick me up. But he didn't say anything about buying a Cayman. Ashley seemed to think it was her father who had arrived. She was puzzled as her father hadn't mentioned buying a Cayman. Maybe it's a surprise for me. That would be nice. My birthday is coming up soon. Ashley headed towards the entrance. I, and then everyone else, followed her to the entrance. President Jordan, I've come to pick you up. Thanks, Keith. What? The president? Yeah, I'm a president, and this Cayman is mine. Keith here is my personal driver. Nice to meet you. I'm Keith, President Jordan's driver. What? You were just a pool dropout. How can you afford such a luxury car? You must have stolen it or something. Your claim of being a president must be a lie. No, I bought this car outright, and I'm not lying about being a president. I started my own company. You started a company? Yeah, I struggled a lot after taking over the family farm. It felt like cultivating barren land. I wasn't making any money and was in a tough spot. But I worked hard to get out of that situation and decided to advance agriculture using high-tech equipment. The latest machines are amazing. With AI making all the decisions, improving work efficiency, the investment was costly, but I was able to quickly recoup the costs. How is that possible? After that, everything fell into place. I developed a new variety of grapes called shiny grapes. Wait a minute. Aren't those the grapes that went for $15,000 per bunch at the first auction? I saw it on the news. Yeah, those are from my farm. Haha, sorry Ashley, I'm making more money than you. Seeing me say that, Ashley had a look of utter despair. It must have been a huge shock to her that someone she belittled turned out to be incredibly successful. Here's the participation fee. Well, I'll be going now. I decided to hand over the participation fee to Ashley and leave. With the typhoon approaching, I thought it would be best to offer Lisa a ride. After all, she had mentioned wanting to leave because her mood had been spoiled. Lisa, if you don't mind, please sit next to me. Really? Are you sure? Yeah, it's tough to go back in this weather, right? Besides, the station is a bit far from here, and taking a taxi would be expensive. Thank you, then I'll accept your offer. Wait a minute. Why does a loser like you get to ride in it? What? I deserve to ride in the Cayman more than you. Move. But Ashley was acting as if she had the right to get into my car. I hadn't invited her, and I was puzzled why she felt she deserved it more. Sure, I picked up erasers she threw away in middle school, so I was called shameless. But Ashley was being just as presumptuous. If she wanted to ride in a Cayman so badly, she could buy one herself or have her father buy it for her. Keith, let's go. Right away, sir. Then, goodbye. What? You don't have to come back, you know. I wouldn't even if you didn't say it. Keith, my driver, drove us away from the luxury hotel. I planned to drop Lisa off at her home first. It was pouring outside, and she had lost her umbrella, so she was in trouble. Sorry, I'm so clumsy that I lost it. Don't worry, everyone loses things sometimes. Still, Ethan, you've worked hard. Becoming a president, I had no idea. I've been busy since then, didn't get to meet many people, a lot happened. A lot, huh? Yeah, It was really tough until the agriculture business succeeded. My father passed away, you know. I was covered in mud every day, trying to figure things out. I see, you had a hard time. My father passed away when I was 17. As I mentioned before, my father was disabled due to an injury. One day, while he was out alone with his cane, he was involved in a traffic accident. A truck, mistaking the accelerator for the brake, plowed straight towards him. He couldn't escape because of his bad leg. Even with healthy legs, anyone would freeze seeing a speeding truck. I wondered how scared my father must have been. He was already gone before he was taken to the hospital, so thankfully he didn't suffer long. He might not have even realized what happened, passing away so suddenly. That's probably why strange things happened in our house. Lights in my father's room turned on by themselves, and his tools were found in different places. I thought maybe he still believed he was alive or had unfinished business. So, I worked hard, hoping he would find peace. When the business reached an annual turnover of $1.5 billion, my father's presence faded away. He must have been worried about me and the farm even after his death. When I shared this story with Lisa, she cried. Seeing her cry for me and my father made me realize what a kind person she is. She took a handkerchief from her bag and dabbed her eyes. Her eyes, slightly smudged from the eyeshadow, hadn't changed much since middle school. She had LASIK surgery but had always been nearsighted, wearing thick glasses. But her round, cute eyes, glimpsed briefly, had always been adorable to me. Could you turn right here, please? Yes, turning right here. Sorry for the trouble of driving me. No worries, you're a friend of President Jordan, right, President Jordan? Yeah, don't worry about it. My house is in this direction too. Oh, I see, but still, thank you. As we were saying goodbye, Lisa mentioned she wanted to exchange contact information with me. I was a bit surprised, but we exchanged our QR codes. Thinking about Lisa as I rode in the car, my driver Keith said something to me. President Jordan, it seems like you have feelings for that lady, don't you? Hey, Keith, what are you talking about? Well, your voice was very gentle when you spoke with her. It sounded like you might like her. Well, if you don't confess now, you might regret it later. I couldn't tell my wife I loved her. Yeah, I guess you're right. Keith, my driver, is a year younger than me. But he had already lost his wife at his age. It was fortunate that they didn't have children, but his wife passed away from cancer. This was before Keith became my driver. After his wife's illness and passing, he became like an empty shell. He used to be a taxi driver, but quit and spent his days aimlessly sitting on park benches. He often got stopped by the police for his unkempt appearance, looking almost homeless. There's no doubt people mistook him for a vagrant. He was even verbally abused by high school students. Despite his young age, Keith got into trouble with a group of delinquents. That's when I stepped in to help him. Stop it. What pleasure do you get from this? Get lost. Foo, foo. Are you okay? Are you hurt? No, I'm not injured. That's good, but be careful around here. It's a hangout spot for delinquents. Yes, I will. I had lost something that day. It was my business card holder. Keith picked it up and brought it to my farm. It's not a small farm like before, but a huge one. We have a winery and a souvenir shop. There are people working in offices in a small building on the premises. Keith brought me a box of sweets along with the business card holder, as a way to say thank you. I'll never forget what you did for me. Thank you so much. It's nothing, really. But no one has ever helped me like that before. Is that so? After hearing Keith's story, I offered him a job at my place. I thought, even with his wife's passing, it's no use just staying in the park. Rather than running out of money and actually becoming homeless, it would be safer and more secure for him to work as a driver for me. I was shy and never managed to tell my wife I loved her. People are fragile and fleeting, so make sure you are prepared for anything and have no regrets. Yeah, hearing that from you, Keith, it carries more weight. I want you to be even happier, President Jordan. After all, you've been through a lot too. It's nice to hear that from you, Keith. You're kind. You're the kind one, President Jordan. You helped me when I was completely down. Not everyone would do that. Come to think of it, Lisa used to say that helping someone in trouble was just natural. I never thought I was capable of such things, but I realized that I had unknowingly helped a person named Keith. After that thought, Keith drove me back to the high-rise apartment. Currently, my mother and I live on the 25th floor of this high-rise. We live in the same building but in separate apartments. The reason is that I'm so busy with work and always in a hurry, so I didn't want to inconvenience my mother. Hence, we live on the same floor. And my mother says that she doesn't want any future daughter-in-law to suffer living with her mother-in-law. A wife, huh? Can I really handle that? As I mused at the entrance, the image of a woman floated into my mind. It was Lisa from earlier. What would life be like if Lisa were my wife? She's kind-hearted and has such a cute smile. She would surely be a source of comfort. Although she was a serious committee chairperson, she couldn't stop laughing once she started, which might brighten up our home. I found myself thinking. I absently gazed at the cell phone in my pocket. And then, a message from Lisa came through. From Lisa, "Thank you, I'll treat you next time," she sent. Unsure how to reply, I sent a dog sticker with "OK" written on it. Was that too indifferent? I wondered, but replying to someone you're interested in takes courage. If I had to type a normal message, I probably would have frozen on the spot for about an hour, not knowing what to say. Because I've never really messaged or called women outside of work and am not well versed in matters of love. After that, I was constantly filled with a heart-wrenching feeling as I thought about Lisa. I had a dinner date planned with Lisa, but I was uncertain about what to wear. Since I had no sense of fashion, I searched online for trendy clothes and then went to a store. I ended up buying the entire outfit displayed on a mannequin, from top to bottom. Then, I headed out to meet Lisa for dinner. Lisa had chosen the restaurant. I felt guilty about being treated by a lady, but I decided to gratefully accept Lisa's kindness. She was wearing a black dress and a cardigan. Her heels were modestly high. The bag she carried was the same white one she had before. "Sorry for asking you to come all this way. I really wanted to thank you," she said. "No, I should be the one apologizing for being treated," I replied. "Don't worry about it. I'm truly grateful for that time you gave me a ride," she responded. "I see," I said. We walked to the restaurant. The restaurant Lisa had reserved was a stylish French place. She had ordered a course meal, and a vibrant colored appetizer was placed before us. Just looking at it was a feast for the eyes. Then came the soup and the fish dishes. I thanked Lisa in my heart and savored the delicious meal. Lisa also smiled and enjoyed her food. A woman who enjoys her food is my type, and I imagined how happy it would be to share meals with such a smile in the future. Our home would undoubtedly become brighter, and mealtimes would always be enjoyable. After dinner, I walked around with Lisa. Shopping with her was genuinely fun. She looked at various things with sparkling eyes, almost like a young girl. "Thank you for treating me today, Lisa, and shopping was fun too," I said. "No, thank you, let's meet again," she replied. Yeah, next time, I'll pick the place," I said. "Jay, see you later." I was surprised when Lisa said she wanted to meet again. I thought this dinner was just a one-time thank you. Her suggesting another meeting made me secretly ecstatic. After that, Lisa and I went on several dates. I told her I wanted to be her boyfriend. Blushing, Lisa responded, "I'm glad you feel that way." Her cheeks turned red, which was utterly adorable. I found myself falling even more for her. And so, Lisa and I became a couple. It's been a year since we started dating. Every time I met Lisa, parting became more painful. I wanted to be with her forever. The more I thought about it, the more urgent I felt about proposing. President Jordan, thinking about that woman again. Well, you haven't proposed yet. Hurry up, or she'll get tired of waiting. No, I don't want that. Women don't wait forever. You should propose soon. Okay, I got it. Encouraged by Keith, I decided to go ring shopping. And so, I went to look for an engagement ring. After becoming the president of exciting farm company, I could afford expensive things. But for the ring, I wanted to give something unique, one of a kind in this world. Indeed, expensive items often equate to high quality. For instance, items like leather goods, high-performance cars, or watches. With rings, it's more about the appearance than functionality, and I wanted to give something I had made myself. That's why I visited a shop where I could handcraft a ring. Brand rings often look similar. Together with the designer, I decided to create a one-of-a-kind ring. I decided to create a ring with a flowing form, using platinum as the base. Additionally, I decided to embed diamonds all around it and adorn the center with a large diamond. Engraving on the back was also part of the plan. I did some work on the ring myself. Then the owner finished it by polishing and setting the diamonds. When I went to collect a finished ring, I was glad I had it made. Even though I didn't make it all by myself, seeing the unique and beautiful ring that isn't sold in stores, I felt good about having made it. I invited Lisa for a date to give it to her. Her birthday was near, so I booked a fancy Italian restaurant. As Lisa sipped champagne, I cautiously took out the box. "Lisa, there's something I really want to give you." "What is it?" "This. Will you accept it? It's my feelings for you. An engagement ring." "Yeah, I made it. Well, not entirely by myself." "You made it?" I wondered if she would have preferred a brand, but Lisa gently held the ring, tears in her eyes. "So, this is the only one in the world, right? You made it for me, right?" "Yes, I wanted to give you a unique ring, because you are the only Lisa in the world." "I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. This design is really beautiful. I'm thrilled to receive such a gift." "I'm glad you liked it. Lisa, I promise to cherish and make you happy, so please stay with me forever. I'm begging you. Of course, I want to be with you too. Please take care of me. I'll be a good wife, you'll see." Yes. And with that, our marriage was decided. Our parents agreed, and Lisa and I started looking for a wedding venue. Keith attended our wedding. He gave us his blessings and was moved to tears. Having endured tough times himself, I couldn't help but pray for Keith's happiness. If he hadn't encouraged me, I probably still wouldn't have proposed to Lisa. My mother brought a photo of my father. Somehow, it seemed like he was smiling in the picture. I regret that he can't see his grandchildren, but I hope he'll watch over them from heaven. Some of my middle school classmates came, but Ashley didn't. It's fine that she didn't come. Apparently, she was recently dumped and isn't in a state of mind for this. She's even left her job at a major company. I've had my struggles but never blamed my parents. Looking forward to a happy future, I'm determined to live, focusing only on what lies ahead.